And now it's the Bro Force Squad review of The Last Dance. With the starting lineup, Brian Banner, Matt Geiger, and Jeff Fortsek. Thanks, fake announcer man. And we will be using our 5 criteria of cast, story, best scene, impacts on pop culture, and rewatchability. So first, for the Chicago Bulls ESPN doc, The Last Dance cast, we go to Jeff.
Thanks, Matt. Glad that I got my name to have the echo on it from the announcer. As a kid who didn't run out to their driveway to shoot hoops playing their intro music before. So cast.
Did anyone else have sweatpants that you just wanted to rip off when you're done?
Of course.
I would only buy the rip away sweatpants because that's how Jordan entered the game. You know?
And it goes click, 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 click.
Yeah, click, 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 click. All right, on to the cast of characters here, and I'll leave most of the main ones for you. I gotta say, as a huge fan of the NBA, around this time, this was kind of when we really started to understand sports, what was going on as kids of the 90s. I really wanted and hope that this documentary kind of gets into the warts on Michael Jordan, because now that we're adults, we realize he wasn't just some guy who loved Gatorade and Big Macs and saved the Toon Squad. He's maybe the greatest athlete of our generation, but he's not without many, many imperfections. And they kind of start to show that a little bit here, which is great. But for me, the person that I learned the most about in at least the first 2 episodes, and again, that's obviously what we're reviewing here, is Jerry Krause, the general manager of the Bulls, and his weird, number one, the way that he got the job. Have you ever fucking heard of someone going from a baseball GM position or front office to basketball? That's
he wasn't a GM. He was a scout.
Yeah, he was a baseball scout.
But that's so weird because
it's even worse than
Jeff,
a GM.
Being a baseball guy, they're a dime a dozen. How many? So for the Houston Astros, how many fucking scouts do they? They have millions of scouts, tons of scouts. And
it's just evaluating the 2 different sports are so different. That to make that transition, again, he knew Reinsdorf, which is the big reason, but you can kind of understand why the players on the Bulls were dude, this fucking short, fat guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And Jordan is excessively cruel to him.
Which is great.
Even on camera, which I'm dude, it's funny, but at the same time, he kind of helped put together these teams.
It's how we picture LeBron being to every coach he's had, pretty much.
But it's kind of interesting because I think this was the start of GMs back in the day. It was whatever they said went, and now we were starting to see, especially in the NBA, players sort of take control of the league to where you can't just have some nerd in your front office that is crunching numbers, making decisions. There has to be a player relationship element, and obviously in episode 2, and I want way more of this, but him and Scottie Pippen. That's unsalvageable, and I'm really interested to see because I don't remember how that goes down. So for me, as far as cast or characters, Jerry Krause was kind of the coolest revelation we got.
Sorry, we're actually doing a review on episode 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, I'll put that in the title.
Just so people are caught up. All right, Banner.
So just a little background on me. I didn't really start following the NBA or basketball until late high school. So obviously I knew who Michael Jordan was, but I didn't follow it as closely as you guys and a lot of people. So a lot of this is new to me, and I'm absolutely fascinated because we moved to the Chicago area in '98. So right after their second three-peat, it was a huge deal. And coming from Arizona, I just didn't understand that. And now I'm getting to learn all of this kind of for the first time. So it's coming from a different kind of perspective as you guys, and I'm digging it. I'm fascinated by just all of their stories. I didn't even know Scottie Pippen was from Arkansas. I had no idea.
He went to Central Arkansas. I did know that.
And Banner, just to piggyback off of what you said real quickly, it's for Jerry Krause, you have to know in 1997, you're not going to win the media narrative with Michael Jordan. He's basically America's sweetheart. So Jerry Krause is kind of dude, I can't go to war with you because I'll never win. You're Michael fucking Jordan, you know?
Yeah, and I remember watching ESPN and SportsCenter and stuff when I was a kid and seeing Jerry Krause on screen, but I didn't follow basketball, so I didn't understand what it was. And now, going back thinking about it, it's insane. They were openly hostile to each other in news conferences.
I gotta ask real quick. Do you think that in Space Jam they had them model Danny DeVito's character after Jared Kraft?
I was wondering that too. They might get to that later. Check out our movie commentary on that, by the way. But I've seen a bunch of Twitter stuff on that, and I couldn't answer possibly. I mean, Stan Bovalek too could be modeled after him as well. I don't know. My thing with the cast, man, is I'm with Jeff. Like, I've kind of fallen out with the NBA for a while, and it's not because it's a players' league. It's just basically the brand of basketball they played, because in the early and late 90s, it was a rough game, man. It was almost like watching football. If you go back and watch those fucking games, like, every point in the paint, especially from a small forward or small guard like Jordan, was fucking earned, even at the rim or at the line. And just the brand of basketball they've played, I just love so much. They got into Charles Oakley for a little bit, how he was an enforcer, and he's definitely an enforcer with the Knicks in the 90s too, with the Starks and Ewing teams. But
a guy that could not even play in the league now, right?
Absolutely not. There's a bunch of people the whole Detroit Pistons team from like 91 to 93 could not play in the league right now. But the one cast I'm going to say, and I'm not a big fan of Jordan, I'm not a big fan of LeBron, but I respect both of them as two of the greatest players ever. I'm going to say one fucking cast. Bill Wellington. Can we end the discussion right there? Bill Wellington was a key member of this fucking team. Can we end the discussion there that Jordan's probably the best? Like, Bill Wellington is probably, what, Jeff, maybe a top 500 player in 97? Maybe? Would he even make, like, the Supersonics or some squad that was actually pretty deep with talent, like the Charlotte Hornets or the New York Knicks? There's no way he'd make that team.
Like, the 27th team in the NBA now shits a Bill Wellington off the bench easily, and he was the starting center. Was Horace Grant not on that team? That's why I was confused.
No, not 97. He was with the Magic, dude. He's with with Barkley.
But I thought
he was at the early 90s team that won the championship.
But I thought he came back to the Bulls again.
No. He was with, because if you remember the Magic 30 for 30, the Orlando Magic.
I remember he was on them when they played the Rockets, like when Jordan left for a year, but I thought he went back to the Bulls, but maybe I'm just misremembering.
Well, he had some battles with the Bulls, and he would tell Penny like everything they did because he used to play there. So I don't believe I know he wasn't on that Bulls team in 97, 98 when they beat the Jazz. So going right into story. So episode 1 and 2, I fucking love how they go back and forth from 97. Then they go to Jordan like in college, his rookie year. And kids, if you voted on that, who's the best college basketball player ever, you voted for Jordan, you're an idiot. Jordan was a fine college basketball player, but he was nowhere close to – Lou Alcindor, I think, is the best college basketball player ever. But that's just me. But him in college, another point to him and LeBron. Could LeBron have played for Dean Smith? Could LeBron have played for Bobby Knight in the Olympics when he's in college? Jordan played for some tough fucking coaches. He really did. And he took a back seat to James Worthy, too. And Scotty's fucking story, man, I didn't know, like, how hard brought up he was with his dad, and his brother was paralyzed from a PE accident and stuff. And it really made me really enjoy Scottie Pippen, which is great. I'll get to that a little bit in Best Scene. But Pippen, dude, was very underestimated. He is a very great basketball player. I don't think he was the top 50 basketball player in that year, but he is a very great basketball player and definitely should be in the Hall of Fame. So, Banner, take it from the story.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I absolutely love how the story is real centric around that 97-98 season, but they're giving us these flashbacks of everything that's helping us build up to it. You don't see that style of film in documentaries very often. I mean, that's a huge style and a way to do just regular feature films, but to see that in a documentary and have them pull it off that way is absolutely fantastic. And it kind of seems like to me, and I don't know if you guys would agree or not, but obviously it's about Michael Jordan, but each episode they're going to focus on another member of the team, which I think is really cool. I mean, we're going to get down to those guys. I'm hoping like the coup coaches and even Steve Kerr, their experience.
Phil Jackson amazes me.
Yeah, we need more Phil in this.
Would you do Phil next or would you do Phil last? I think you have to do Phil last.
Yeah, I'd save him.
You have a pretty good argument saying that he's not that good a coach because he's always had the best player, but I'd argue back that he has to manage all those fucking, egos and shit.
Yeah, ask Rudy Tomjanovich, who didn't win with the exact same Lakers team that he won 3 titles with.
Yeah,
you know.
Right.
Sorry, Banner, I cut you off.
No, that was pretty much it. All I had to say on the story. Like I said, I lived it. We lived it, and I had actually lived in the Chicago area when they three-peated, but it wasn't a big deal to me. So going back and really learning about this story for the first time is a lot of fun for me.
Jeff?
I mean, you guys said it perfectly. Kind of an amalgamation of both of your thoughts. Banner brings up the point that it feels like a dramatization, like an actual movie, in the sense that, like, we're seeing this. It's just so perfect to add context. We see this team at the end of their run, and why does this matter to us? Oh, because you're showing us how they got there, respectively. And obviously, Jordan's at the heart of that, but all the ancillary pieces in building a basketball team, the characters that have come and gone. It's just such a cool fucking way to build this. And it didn't feel, I'm sure you guys will agree, I didn't feel at all like, oh, they're adding this shit just to drag out the runtime. Like, there was not a second that I was bored in either of these.
No, I loved every minute of it.
And to Geiger's point, we followed the NBA pretty obsessively at this time, and I learned a lot from this that I did not know before. Like all the stuff with Pippen and his family and the troubles that was so sad about his brother and Jim. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, that could happen to anybody at any time. The Kraus stuff is great. So again, I think the way they're telling the narrative makes it to where 10 episodes are easily warranted, and I'm still probably going to be wanting a little bit more. So the way the story was told, I think is unique, and I'm really excited to see how they progress it. Like you guys said, sort of, because we haven't even touched on Rodman at all, or Phil. I mean, there's like so much left that they didn't even really tease that's out there.
I hope they don't get to Rodman too much, because we already have a doc about him, and it touches a lot.
I saw the preview for next week, and I think it gets into like his partying a little bit.
Okay, well that's fine. I mean, I love me some Rodman. Don't get me wrong, but I would like to learn about some other players. Jeff, man, just keep it going with best scene. This whole thing was. I know best scene.
This is a tough one, and if I take one from you guys, I'm sorry. I have one and then an honorable mention. My first. I texted Geiger right after this. Geiger and I love people who are frauds and think that they're fooling us. It's like our favorite thing on earth. And when Jordan is sitting there with a tumbler of whiskey and a cigar, and what's he on, his third wife? And he's sitting there talking about how his rookie year he would walk into the hotel. I love the guy, but let's just be real with us, dude. We've heard the stories from Jeter and Tiger Woods.
Like, we're not 8 years old anymore worshiping you. Like, we know the deal. We've done it too. We partook. It's fine.
Right. It's fine, dude. But he's talking about how he walked in a hotel room and there was blow on one of the dressers and girls in the hotel room. He was like, this ain't for me. And I'm like, dude, no one fucking believes. Like, it's too far the other way for me to believe it. But I loved that scene. It was great because he still has this image he wants to preserve. But anybody that like is mature is like, okay, bro, really? And then another thing, Cycly, who was a huge Chicago Bulls fan growing up too, I actually think his dad's company made the glass that the Bulls use for their backboards. The company his dad manages. But he texted me like, dude, how fucking insane is it that Krause told Phil Jackson, you can go 82-0 this year and you're not keeping your job? Like, how are you a GM and you tell someone that? That makes no goddamn sense to me. That line also was my favorite scene.
First off, Krause is going to get shit on a lot, which he should. But I always point, I'm like, dude, the owner could fire him. The owner, I think, is really the one to blame on this. He allowed all this to happen, too. Krause is a douche, don't get me wrong. But
Krause is there because of Reinsdorf, though, right? Like, they were in the White Sox organization together.
Yeah.
That's your boy.
So. Yeah, that's your boy.
Banner.
I honestly can't pinpoint one scene. I liked how a lot of times when they're talking about plays, like those guys can still break those plays down now. Like Jordan, I feel like all those big games, he can still break everything down. He knows every single moment and every single second of that. I mean, I'm sure he did some prep work, like he knew what he was going to have to talk about. But the way that he talks about what was going through his mind and like in those moments, like when he took the shot in his freshman year of the national championship, him walking us through his mindset going through all of that is just absolutely fascinating to me to kind of just get a glimpse into that basketball IQ and just somebody that is so good at their craft.
Yeah, Kobe was the same way, which is just insane to me. Like the guy's made 8 billion shots in his life and he could break down how he got open on a specific one.
All right, my best scene is, I guess it would be like the opening to the show, and I don't know if they're gonna do this like every single time, but I think it's Alan Parsons, that song that's playing in the background that has every Bulls game. It's just basically cuts of Jordan saying something and then saying something. It's basically the intro, and I don't know if that's the best scene or not. I guess an intro doesn't have to be the best scene, but it has to set a tone.
It's both.
But man,
There you go.
I'll tell you something. On Sunday, it was hot where I was at. I grilled a steak. I had a 6-pack of Blue Moon. When my steak was fucking done, I sat down, I cut it up, I had my shirt off, hand down my pants, and I watched this. I'm like, you already sold me. I'm already here. You don't have to do this. I'm already invested in this. And then I'm like, this is going to be the greatest thing I fucking watched. And we need it now more than ever because there's no sports going on, no fucking nothing. And this is basically, which we haven't even talked about. I guess they've had this footage since '98. And what the fuck were they going to do with it?
I don't know.
Why hasn't this not come out?
There's no way anybody has the foresight that, hey, 20 years from now is when we're going to actually use this, but we need to film it all right now. There's no fucking way.
The greatest thing is I think it's really going to make people, I mean, people already love Michael Jordan and Air Jordan stuff, but the younger kids are actually going to see, like, dude, this is why he was the fucking best. There's not going to be anyone else like him. Like, when he was reaming on his teammates, you can't get away with that.
And, dude,
Kobe did a little.
Yeah, we forgot to mention this. Those 2 playoff games, I think his rookie year against the Celtics, is like, fuck all my scrub teammates. I'm going to score 60 back-to-back games in the Boston Garden. Kids now should watch it and be like, holy shit, this guy just does not care.
Okay, so I want to go into impacts because, Jeff, you kind of teed me up on there. I want everyone to watch for basically how much sports has changed, players have changed, and also how we cover sports has changed. For one, Jeff, just like you said, that Boston game where they weren't even supposed to make the playoffs. They wanted Jordan to set out to get a draft pick, but Jordan fucking played when he could have just had his career in jeopardy just to make the playoffs, to lose to probably – I mean, if you think this Bulls team is the best team ever, look at that fucking Celtics team. That team was stacked.
That team was so big.
That team was sick. And then, I mean, them versus the Lakers every fucking year, and then that Pistons team was great too. Jordan had to go through hell just to get to the NBA Finals. But Jordan, I mean, now players would be like, all right, I understand, I want a draft pick, I want help, I'll just set out, fucking take the money and sit on my suit. Jordan didn't. He's like, I don't care if it makes the playoffs or not, you win every fucking game. The other is how media back in the day built Jordan up. As Jeff, you said, and they'll get into later, he was not the best guy, but he was built up to be America's sweetheart. Now you fast forward, if you have someone that's really nice like a Tim Tebow, everyone's trying to find out what's wrong with this guy, find dirt on him, find something, find a story. That's how things have switched in sports as well. And the third thing is Scottie Pippen, who said that he wasn't paid enough, which I agree with. He was a great player. He should have been paid way more. He didn't hold out. He said, I'm not going to get my surgery till later to miss a couple games. But nowadays, players
his quote was,
fucking play.
I'm not going to fuck up my summer, which I loved.
Which is insane. But, I mean, those are 3 things, man. Back in the day, and, people's fathers and shit will tell you this, like, Pete Rose ran over a catch on the All-Star game. They wanted to win at all costs. You play the game, you fucking win. Now players sometimes want to lose to get a better draft pick, and how sports is covered, how we try to tear everyone down. I mean, and Tiger Woods is a prime example. When he first started, they're like, this is a perfect guy. Put him on Wheaties boxes, but now every single time it's like, who's his girlfriend? Is he cheating on somebody? Does he have a bunch of girls? Like, dude, I would rather you pretend that these heroes are heroes, because I don't really want to know everything wrong with people, because I don't really know them personally. I don't care. I just want to watch them play. But that's 3 things I want you to watch for, because culture has really impacted sports, and it's way different than it was in '97, which doesn't seem that long ago to I guess I'm a millennial. I don't know. I'm a '90s kid. So impacts on pop culture, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the younger generation is going to see him and go, oh, wow, he really was the best. I mean, we're starting to see guys entering the NBA right now. They're like, yeah, I looked up to Kobe and to LeBron, and those are the guys, they're the best players. Now they're actually getting this footage and how that insight into Jordan's mindset, and see how, wow, this guy was really the best. There's a reason that Kobe and LeBron looked up to this guy, and they strive to be there, and they never got there, in my opinion. I think Jordan was hands down the best. They came close, but he was still the best. And it's that that mentality. I think Kobe had a good mentality, kind of similar to that. But I think that's the biggest thing is you're going to have these younger kids now that are going to see this documentary and say, holy shit, I want to be him. I don't want to be LeBron. LeBron's nothing.
Jeff?
Yeah, to that point, I think Jordan, like Geiger mentioned this, the way he deals with his teammates, like his mentality towards the game is a lot more like Kobe than LeBron's. And I think that's one thing, like this generation, they're like, oh, LeBron's better than Jordan. But I mean, we would say the same thing about like LeBron or Jordan versus Kareem, just because we didn't get to watch Kareem, you know. So this will close that gap. And one thing, as we're recording this, the NFL draft starts tomorrow, and so you'll probably be listening to this night of the draft. But Geiger pointing that out about there are people out there right now going through draft prospects' old Twitter accounts to try and find a tweet from 2014 and ruin their life the second they get drafted.
Kids have their night.
That's what I'm saying. It's a different world that we live in because Jordan, I don't think he had the media fooled. Like I don't want to fraud is too strong of a word, but his public image was definitely churched up or glossed up.
Yeah.
They left out a lot of his warts, and I hope that this documentary, it doesn't need to be a hit piece, but just be real with me, right? I'm okay with.
I understand. You like to go to Vegas and golf and get escorts and stuff. That's fine.
Bro, it humanizes you, if anything else. Like, I'm an adult. Talk to me like one, please. And I don't know if we're going to explicitly.
I feel like Wolf of Wall Street when he's talking to that guy. He's like, listen, we get fucked up too. We're sick motherfuckers. I mean, look at us. It's fine. You had a sex party. It happens.
Right. And I don't think we'll explicitly get that, but I mean, they've already kind of done it with Pippen. Like, just show me how the real story behind this. We can handle it. It's been 20 years.
Last thing I want to say that this doc pointed out before we go to rewatchability is that, once again, if you're comparing Jordan to anyone else, Jordan changed the NBA, because before Jordan, everyone thought you needed a big, a la Ewing, a la Olajuwon, David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal. Like, you can't win a championship without a big. Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the list goes on and on. Jordan was like the first guy who's like, dude, I don't really need a center to score points. Like, I can just – I mean, no one thought – I mean, you had Walt Clyde Frazier, who's a fucking Hall of Famer for the New York Knicks. One of the greatest players to ever say, yeah, he's good, but he's only 6'5". I mean, he can't will a team for the championship. You're going to need a big man.
Yeah, they had a whole montage of guys like, well, you know, he's only 6'4" or 5". I'm like, dude, you don't even fucking – he's going to run circles around you. Wait till he switches you on him in a pick and roll and you have to guard him on the perimeter.
Nowadays, NBA, you don't want a big man that's slow. You want, like, a bunch of small forwards out there, basically.
The Warriors' death lineup had a 6'6" center.
It's insane. Okay, so rewatchability, it's hard to say would you rewatch this, yes or no. So we're just going to bring up some other docs. I'll bring up two docs that I would compare this to because they're probably the two best sports docs I've watched from ESPN. And one is the Fab Five, which I think we can all agree on is one of the greatest things I've ever fucking seen ESPN ever do with a 30 for 30. And the other one I love is I think it's Bo Knows, or the one on Bo Jackson. I thought was very fucking well done about some of the myths of him, like how he could jump over 3 cars and a bunch of that type of shit.
Do the backflip in knee-high water.
But this, I mean, it's only 2 episodes in, man. They're right up with those. And obviously, if you would have got me a 10-part docuseries on Bo Jackson or Fab Five, I'd be just as excited as this. So it's kind of hard to compare them. But this is the best doc I've seen in a while because it actually has footage from back then. The Fab Five didn't have footage from the locker room, you know, that wasn't on NBC or something. Like, this actually has footage behind the scenes. It's almost like a Hard Knocks, but back in fucking 97, 98. So I think this doc might actually kick all their asses when all of this is said and done. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's hard to compare this show to a lot of other documentaries. I mean, the documentaries where we get docuseries are not traditionally sports. I mean, I don't know that we have one other than like a Hard Knocks, but I don't count that as a documentary. That's more of a reality show. So the way that it's filmed is interesting because it's episodic, whereas, you know, instead of just giving us 2 hours and almost the cliff notes and skipping through things, they're really getting to dive deep into every single little detail, which I really appreciate because it's something we've never had before.
Yeah, the one that I would compare it to, and I've talked about it on this show, is Kobe Doing Work, which is that Spike Lee documentary. And again, that's only part of the story they're telling here, but the way that Kobe would analyze a game, analyze his teammates' performance, and I think just mentality-wise, Kobe and Jordan, I see so many similarities. That's what's interesting to me, but the part of this that I think, Geiger, you already said this, is unique and really there's no comp for it, is the behind the scenes and the footage and the access that we're getting to these players that somehow has lied dormant for 23 years. Like how a director was able to sit on this and not do something with it for so long. Like you have more willpower than I'll ever have in my life, dude, because like what's the joke Jordan makes when they have
get shelter in place for 2 weeks and this guy's been sitting on this since 98. Like what the fuck?
Seriously. And ESPN was going to make us wait till mid-May to get this. So at least they moved it up a month. So I think that's the thing. This really, right now, to my knowledge, doesn't have a comp. Maybe like Hoop Dreams or something, in terms of how in depth and real and gritty it feels. But I don't know. We'll see. It feels like it's cutting it from a different cloth that no documentary I've ever really seen has touched.
We're already in. We already have sports boners. We've already climaxed, and they haven't even really give us any behind the scenes on Rodman, which that guy loves the camera. So I'm pretty pumped. They're saving that till episode 5 or 6. Like, oh, here's all the Rodman behind the scenes shit we got, which would be fantastic.
I mean, they could do a 10-part just on his stupid shit.
Oh yeah. All right, guys, we've been the Broforce Squad. You can check out all of our content at our website, www.broforcesquad.com. We're also on iTunes, YouTube, and Anchor, so subscribe to us and listen to us on there. Twitter, @Broforce tweet at us questions. We will answer them on air and on our episodes. And also, you can find out all our reviews for movies on Letterboxd. Until then, he's Matt. He's Brian. Wait, he's Jeff. I'm fucking drunk.
You referred to yourself in the third person.
We've been the Broforce Squad. We're all 3 here. So we'll catch you later. That's why I got teammates. You guys got to pick me up on this shit.
Setting picks, I'm sorry.